All right, let's talk about one of the biggest moments in your financial life. That moment you finally see six figures in your savings. You hit 100 grand, the big one. But the decisions you make right after can change everything. It's the difference between hitting a plateau and actually building life-changing wealth. Okay, let's get into it.
So let's start with this number. For a guy we'll call Marcus, this number represents 6 years of his life. He's 31. 6 years of packing his own lunch, driving a paid-off car, living with roommates, all of it. This isn't just money. For him, this is a monument to sacrifice.
And this is the exact thought that hit Marcus when he saw that number pop up on his phone. He wasn't popping champagne. He was just frozen. All of a sudden, you've got advice coming from everywhere. Buy crypto. Get into real estate. Just put it all in index funds. But honestly, the most dangerous voice is that little one in your own head that says, hey, you earned a break. We're going to break down why that paralysis is so normal, and more importantly, how you get past it.
Okay, first things first, we have to understand why $100,000 isn't just a number that feels good to hit. It's not just psychological. At this level, the actual math of how you build wealth totally changes.
You've probably heard this famous quote from the legendary Charlie Munger. And most people get stuck on that first part. The struggle, the grind. But the real genius, the part that matters right now, is the second part. Why? Why can you suddenly ease off the gas? What actually changes?
This is what changes. Your money is no longer just a pile of cash sitting there. It's like you've hired your first employee. Think about it. With an average market return, that money is now earning you $8 grand a year. It works 24/7, never calls in sick, and doesn't ask for a promotion. This is the moment your wealth starts growing from something other than just your own hard work.
And check this out. That new employee, it just gets better and better at its job. If it took Marcus 6.5 years to grind out that first 100 grand, the market and his savings will hand him the next one in just over 4 years, and the one after that, about 3. The machine doesn't just run on its own, it gets faster. So, if the math is so powerful, why do so many people get stuck here? It's almost always because they fall into one of 3 traps. And these traps are tricky because they feel smart, they feel responsible, but they will absolutely kill your momentum.
The first mistake is playing it too safe. You think, my savings account is safe because the number never goes down. But that's just an illusion. Your dollars might be safe, but their value, their purchasing power, is getting eaten alive by inflation every single day. If inflation is 3% and your bank is paying you 0.5%, you are guaranteed to lose money. The safe choice is actually the only option with a guaranteed loss.
All right, mistake number 2 is the polar opposite of fear. It's ambition. It's that little voice of ego that says, okay, I've got real money now. I can find the next Tesla, the next Bitcoin. You think you can outsmart the market.
Well, the data on this is just brutal. Over a 15-year stretch, more than 90% of professional fund managers, we're talking people with PhDs and entire research teams, fail to beat a simple, boring index fund. The answer isn't to try to be smarter than them. The answer is to stop playing a game that even the pros almost always lose.
And the last mistake, this one's the sneakiest. It's treating 100 grand like a finish line. You think, I did it, I've arrived, and that discipline that got you here, it starts to soften. You get a slightly nicer apartment, you start eating out a little more often, and before you know it, your expenses have crept up and all that forward momentum has just stopped.
Okay, so we've covered the don'ts. Now for the good part. Let's talk about the exact, step-by-step framework for turning that pile of cash into a true wealth-building machine. And I gotta tell you, the order you do this in is everything.
This is the plan. 5 simple steps. And the sequence is non-negotiable, because each one builds on the last. First, you lock in your foundation, so a medical bill or a layoff never forces you to sell your investments at the worst possible time. Second, you grab all the free money on the table. Third, you get rid of any high-interest debt that's basically reverse compounding against you. And only then, once you're secure, do you max out your tax shields and automate the rest. It's a system that runs itself.
So step 1, and you cannot skip this, you lock in your foundation. We're talking 3 to 6 months of your essential living expenses set aside in cash. But, and this is so important, it can't just be sitting in your regular bank savings account earning nothing. It has to be in a high-yield savings account. These are paying over 4% right now, which means your emergency fund is actually protected from inflation instead of losing value every year. So after that emergency fund is set, you immediately capture any free money from your employer's 401k match. That's a guaranteed 100% return. You can't beat it. Then you wipe out any high-interest debt like credit cards.
Only then do you move on to the really powerful stuff, maximizing the accounts that legally shield your money from taxes. We're talking about your Roth IRA for tax-free growth, your 401k for tax-deferred growth, and the health savings account, the HSA, which is this incredible triple tax advantage beast.
Okay, so once you're automatically maxing out those accounts every year, any money left over to invest should follow one very simple, very powerful rule. Boring is brilliant. You don't need to be clever, you just need to be consistent.
And this is pretty much the entire strategy. You stop trying to find the single needle in the haystack, and you just buy the whole haystack. With just 3 simple funds, one for the entire US market, one for the entire international market, and one for bonds, you instantly own a small piece of over 22,000 companies all over the world. It's total diversification, and it's incredibly simple.
And get this, the cost. The price tag for owning a piece of the entire global economy, it's almost nothing. 0.04%. To put that in perspective, for every $100,000 you invest, you're paying just $40 a year in fees. So let's just spell this out. You can pay $40 a year for market-matching returns, or you can pay a guy in a suit $1,000 a year to try and get you those same returns and fail 90% of the time. You're paying 10, maybe 25 times more for worse results. The math here it's just undeniable.
Now, putting this framework into action isn't just about shuffling money between accounts. It really requires a deep shift in how you think about your role in all this. You have to go from being a grinder to being a gardener.
See, for 6 years, Marcus was a grinder. Every single dollar was earned through his own effort, his own sacrifice. But from this point on, his job changes. Now he's a gardener. His job is to design the system, to plant the seeds, to set up the automatic watering, and then to just protect it and let it grow on its own.
And that brings us all the way back to Charlie Munger. When he said you can ease off the gas, he didn't mean you can get lazy and stop saving. No way. He meant the heavy lifting, the sacrificial part of the grind is over. The really hard work is now being done by your money, not just by you.
So that leaves you with this one final question. Hitting 100 grand forces you to decide, is that money a trophy that you just put on a shelf to look at where it's slowly going to lose its shine? Or is it the engine of a machine you're building, a force that works for you day and night? Answering that question is what ensures that this amazing milestone is truly a starting line and not a finish line.